Good morning. You're through to another episode of Interview the Councillor candidate here with Asking News. I'm JT, Joker Davis. I am sat here with Sicknote, who is up for Military Councillor. Welcome.
Thank you, Joker. Always a pleasure to see you.
And you too. Now, I know you very well. Obviously, I've worked out with you up on the surface more than a few times. However, not everybody who views this channel does know who you are. So tell us a little bit about yourself in your own words.
It's really easy. I'm probably the most reluctant member of the FEF. Okay, we're all volunteers. I came to the surface through a little bit of compulsion, but let's not go through the details of that. And I don't like the surface. You know, I think the surface is dangerous, dirty, and unpleasant. Okay, I come to the surface through coercion. I have to really force myself to do it. But the main and most important thing is I feel the fear and do it anyway.
Thank you. So, read through your manifesto. Obviously, it's been published now, so people have had a chance to have a look through it themselves as well. So, I want to talk about the first part of your manifesto. It could be interpreted to say that the FEF should be above reproach. I think it says, when a member of the FEF acts in good faith, the bunker should support and protect them rather than prosecute them. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that and clarify its meaning for everybody, please?
I'd be delighted to. This actually came up at my rally the other day, where people were actually saying, I think it was mainly because of my challenger, you know, that Simon character, you know, has he been to the surface once? I think, you know, FNG, but let's not get into the details of that. You know, try and keep the actual campaign clean. Although he was the one who started by misquoting me, suggesting that I said that the FEF were above the law. Not what I said at all. In fact, as can be seen from my manifesto, that truly represents what was said, which is that the most important thing is when somebody acts in good faith, the bunker should support them. Okay, it's that term good faith which is the most important. Yet if somebody goes out and shoots people for no reason, that is not good faith. Okay, if somebody's not placed in some sort of moral quandary, as in war crimes fields, then that's not good faith. But I was there. I saw the struggle that she went through. It's not fair and it's not reasonable. And it's also not right. And despite the fact I resent what happened and being charged with something that could have got me either, you know, executed or even worse, exiled to the surface, which I hate, I think that she's actually done a very good job. And she reported herself in and us for what had actually happened. Okay, so she was effectively saying something has happened. I don't know what should be going on here. Can somebody please adjudicate? But that's not right. We need to have properly defined terms of reference so that FEF members know that the bunker isn't going to castigate them, but instead is going to actually support them when they try to do the right thing.
Okay. That's great. Thank you for clarifying. Yeah, that's good for clarifying it, both for myself and for everybody else who's listening. So just to make it absolutely clear for us all, when you mean support them and the actions that they take, is this when the FEF is on the surface only, or is it all the time?
No, it must be on the surface only.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, I am fully in support of the internal bunker legal system operating in the bunker. Mm-hmm. But what I'm saying is, thank you for the question, actually. That's actually really allowed me to expand on the point, which is that in the bunker, we live in a very closed community and have done for years. And it's right that we should have a very tight legal system that protects people from things that may go on in there. And let's face it, for 500 years, it's worked pretty well. Mm-hmm. Okay. However, on the surface, we're in a different kettle of fish. I'm probably mixing huge metaphors because obviously the bunker could be seen as a kettle, whereas the outside is perhaps rather larger. But you know, on the surface, it's different. We're meeting things and entities that we don't even know what we're dealing with. So from that point of view, how does the FEF behave? Because I can tell you what's going to happen. If you put the FEF in the same constraints as the bunker law, they're going to be very conservative in their approach to things. Do you want a conservative FEF? You know, this was something that's going to come on to later, but you know, I described the FEF as the pointy end of the sharp stick. Okay, we're at the sharp end of these things. There's no question about it. You know, and let's be also really frank. There aren't many members of the FEF. Okay, you don't want people not volunteering, or alternatively, when they get to the surface, going, actually, you know, I may be exiled or executed for this. Best we don't look that way. Best we go home. Or
Right.
alternatively, this is something I put on my manifesto, which is that tribal law is different. It appears now that Hope's End law is going to be different. So, how are FEF members supposed to behave? You know, I'm not telling you how they should behave. I'm asking you. What rules do we want that allow the FEF to behave responsibly on the surface, but also with an emphasis on their own safety, but also advancing the banker objectives? Sorry, may I just emphasise something? I'd like to define my terms at this point, if I may, please, because we use the term banker ascendancy, the ascendancy, almost interchangeably. And I've seen this in other people's manifestos. I'd like to be really clear, please, that we have effectively the banker ascendancy. And then we have the ascendancy, which is the broader umbrella type network of the civilizations with whom we've come into contact and with whom we cooperate, including, let's be frank, the really great tribal people. You know, we can't discount any of these people from our group. And sorry, I'm going to ask my own question, as it were. You know, why did I not put in my manifesto inclusion? Okay, very good point, because I noticed that I've read them. Every other candidate has actually seen. I've read them. They're here.
Well done.
And I've made notes because I think it's important to be thorough. There you go, Simon.
I can see highlighters on there.
That's me. Thank you very much, Joker. Appreciate that. Yeah. So my point is this: we're all in this together. Okay, it's not a question of inclusion or exclusion. We're all.
You there?
So we were just talking about inclusion. One of the reasons I haven't put the term inclusion in my manifesto is because I consider it to be axiomatic that we're all included in this anyway. You know, I'm so sorry, but I don't see the necessity of actually saying we're going to include every single diverse group that we may actually have available in the banker and on the surface, because we're all at it. And this is what basically the ascendancy is all about. And you may be wondering about my sign, Mega Maga.
Yes, tell us about that.
Mega Maga. Basically, make ascendancy great again. In the general sense of the ascendancy, the big ascendancy, the umbrella ascendancy. So in other words, let's be an all-inclusive, keeping everybody going the right way together. You know, I've talked in my manifesto about a new civilization with ascendancy values on the surface. I don't see anybody else talking big picture. They're all talking about, oh, let's hold hands and say kumbaya.
Okay.
I would like to see a more expansive way of looking at our lives. Let's embrace the fact we're on the surface, and let's do something with it together.
Yes. So thinking of surface life and risking life and limb, you mentioned in your manifesto about an insurance for those who go up on the surface and say come back maimed and or dead. And you mentioned a life insurance, which is great for a person who goes up there, but I would like to know where are the funds for this going to come from? Obviously, that's a big thing, so you know it would need a bit more planning. So, can you tell us about that, please?
Of course. I mean, it's only a big thing depending on how much we're actually going to hand out. And I'm not suggesting some bounty for being injured that might encourage people to do bad things to themselves. We don't want that. You know? No self-abusing and that sort of stuff. What I'm suggesting is basically this, that we simply recognise that the surface is a dangerous place. And it has actually been put to me that people get injured also in the bunker, which I think, again, is a very fair point. One thing I think we need to be very aware of is that nanites are a brilliant technology, okay? And it does heal most things, okay? So it's going to be a very small number of people who actually fall into the category of being permanently injured, okay? Obviously, those people who die, you know, that's just a fact. But I would actually suggest that we include everybody who's permanently injured with what I'm going to call a small pension, a recognition of the fact that they have actually served either on the surface or in the bunker.
Okay.
You know, we need to be looking after people better. Now, you may say to me, you know, Sicknote, why do we want to look after people better? I'm sorry, am I asking my own questions? I do apologise.
That's fine, you carry on.
Thank you. We need to look after people better because basically everybody counts. Okay? And again, I know that the banking committees of old have had a huge problem with firefighting. They've had emergency after emergency they've actually had to basically address their minds to, and we wouldn't be here but for them. So, hats off, full credit to you chaps who've gone before me, because I'll be next. Now, the fact is this, that we are in population decline, okay? I checked with ACE, thank you ACE for the data, it's horrendous, okay? Now, most people don't know this because people haven't asked, but we have got 946 inhabitants of the Ascendancy bunker, okay? On the surface, we've got 569 people, okay? Slightly over 1,500 people, okay? We also have a population which is not breeding enough, okay? I'm sorry, it might sound very crude, but we're just not breeding enough. I think 15% of our population is within the under 16 age group. So from that point of view, we're going to effectively extinguish ourselves. So our values will mean nothing unless we do something about it.
Okay.
They all die out. We will die out. Okay? So my proposal is this. We need to actually be looking after every single member of our organisation, the umbrella ascendancy. We can't afford to lose people because everybody needs to be breeding and making babies.
Right.
So I'm the pleasure candidate.
I see. I see.
Sorry, that's just humour. Sorry, cut that.
We're allowed a bit of humour. So that actually leads on to one of the other questions that I was going to ask a bit later, which was about, you mentioned your 5-year plan. So would you like to tell us a bit more about that plan and what it entails?
Well, I think it all starts from the fact that I have an expansive view, okay? As has been stated by several other candidates, the FEF was created in order to effectively explore the surface and gain resources. We've now got to the point where we have explored the surface and we have gained resources, but only in our immediate area. We're now looking beyond that. From our point of view, there are things to be had, things to be gained. And our banker has looked after us very nicely for 500 years, but it's getting a bit old now and we need more parts, more equipment. So we're going to have to move outside the area to do it. Now, again, I'm going to give full respect to the council members who've come before me and the fact that they have expanded, but they've also been curtailed in the fact they've been dealing with problems which have been more immediate than looking beyond the horizon, you may say. Okay, now my background is obviously drone recon. I saw from the start there was actually an opportunity we could use drones to expand our horizon. We have done so. I've encouraged us to do that. I was the one who helped negotiate the deal with Fortitude to basically link into their drone network so we can then bounce through them into new areas. We can explore further because we need resources and we will get resources because if we don't, again, we will die. The point I really need to make is that we are constantly on the edge of survival.
Yes.
We're not as bad as we have been, but we are. And there's no mistaking and there's no beating about the bush on this. We are scrabbling on the surface to survive. So I'm simply going to say, put your petty quarrels behind you, support basically the ascendancy in the umbrella network, and let's get on with this together. Which brings me on to Hope's End. Fair enough. They've got independent. People do. People have got their own free choice to do things. I'm not trying to restrict that. So it's now up to us to be intelligent and clever. How do we engage with these people to either adopt them as allies and compatriots and people who actually aid us, or to actually bring them back into our own network voluntarily?
It's a good question.
Well, again, it's approximately 30% of our membership. So are we going to kill them? That would be a bit silly when I'm talking about population decline.
Yes.
Because both sides will lose.
Definitely. We need to sort of work together. I'm with you on that one. So my next question then, we've talked about various different art peoples on the surface. So talk to me about the golden vote and how that would work.
Okay. All I'm concerned about is the fact that as we expand, we obviously have a limited population in the first place. If we're voting on a per capita basis, so one person, one vote, or even some slightly changed view of that, the more entities or people we bring in, the more chance we have of actually watering down our ability to control the way forward. Now, we have encountered some civilizations who don't have the same value set that we have. For example, the Old Fortitude or the Victorians, for example, they don't. There's no getting around it. Now, if we were to bring people like that into our network, if we give them a vote per capita, a vote per head, or even if it's a vote per banker, we can very easily find that we're actually watering down our ability to control how things move forward and what values we're going to adopt.
So on the back of that then, for instance, if we were to tell Ray's that we were able to golden vote his opinion out, how do you think he would react to that?
Well, again, that's something which we must live with from the point of view that we've already established a system. I'm not suggesting we golden vote the tribes out. You know, Ray's has proved to be absolutely invaluable ally. You know, we must be honourable. We've come to a deal with people. We must stick to that deal. We can't just renegotiate it. But what we can do is we can actually open our eyes now and start protecting ourselves for the future. Okay.
Good answer. So that's that question answered. Now I do have a question from someone who got in touch with me. I won't name names, but they asked, you and Simon, you're both FEF soldiers, and they wanted to know what's the difference between the two of you.
Oh, that's easy. Let me refer to the manifesto. So I hate the word manifesto. It sounds very pretentious to me. And I was actually going to encourage you, if you see me around the bank in the corridor, come over, have a chat, ask me questions when you see me. I think it's far friendlier. Just don't ask me how I am, because that might take you a while to get away.
Yes, I've made that mistake myself.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, I remember. Sorry, now where is his manifesto? Sorry, wrong page. Yes, so all I would say is read the difference between his manifesto and my manifesto. Okay? Now, as I say, his manifesto is very nice, and it's very, we're going to look after people and include people, but what's he actually going to do? What's he really saying? I'll be honest with you, nothing. I mean, from my point of view, I've already told you my view of inclusivity, which is we're in this together, chaps, carry on. Okay? We don't need to be told, we don't need to all put our hands up and vote to be inclusive and nice to people. We just do it because otherwise we're going to lose people. Okay? This is what I would see as like political reality. This is where we live. Now, read his manifesto. I'd encourage you to. He managed to get to nearly a page. It's very internal looking. There's nothing about really looking externally for the future. Do you really want to have somebody who wants to close you back in the bunker? Or do we want to get out there and explore and find out what's available for us? Because that's where the resources are.
Good answer. Thank you very much for that. So
may I also add one more thing as well?
Yes.
This was very, very interesting. In his manifesto, he said the FEF are in fact the representatives of the banker who will first meet new friends and allies. Strange, he doesn't actually refer to the fact that we also meet the enemies first as well.
Okay. Thanks. Now, I do have to ask, there was there's a rumour going around of an angry crowd at your last election meeting, and security apparently had to be called. Can you tell us about that?
Oh, absolute pleasure. Not an angry crowd, just a vibrant discourse. That's what I encourage. I mean, we're standing on the threshold of exploration adventure. It's worrying for people. It's dangerous for people. People want to know what's going on. I'd expect people to be passionate. If you're not passionate, well, why are you existing?
Thank you. That's a good answer. And I've got to ask this one as well from my own point of view. I am a soldier. You're a soldier. What are you going to do for me?
Oh, don't lose any life or limb, or I might have to help you.
Yeah.
I don't just. Sorry, that's my flippant answer. I am not here just to help you, Joker, as a soldier. Okay, I see myself firstly and fundamentally as somebody who's giving the Ascendancy umbrella network, in the bigger sense, a bigger view.
Okay.
You know, I have the luxury of basically having a little bit of stability given to me. So what I've had the chance to do is to actually think about not the day-to-day living and struggling and survival, but actually a bit of bigger picture stuff. And if everybody remembers, I was actually the first person to start talking about the voting structure and exploration and moving on and how we're going to get more resources. And talking about more resources, I mean, we all know that bunker rations aren't great, okay? So what I would like to do is I'd like to improve the situation, perhaps on a very temporary basis for people, in that I have discovered through my drone research that there's actually an area of probably farmable and or coverable animals in the vicinity. So what I'm going to invite you to is a safari, okay?
Do you want to use
FTF.
the vehicle to get there, because it's just waiting to go?
I mean, Joke, if it's available, let's use it, because there is a spot on our map where we have these animals. So what I'm going to suggest is just before the actual election process finishes, I think if I worked out, it was Saturday the 25th, is it? Yeah, Saturday the 25th. I would like to invite FEF and anybody else who wants to come safaring on the surface with a barbie afterwards. 6 a.m. for the safari, 6 p.m. for the barbie. And I'm going to be absolutely honest with you, okay? We don't know if these animals are going to be actually edible or not. They may be irradiated, mangled wrecks that we don't want to touch. So when you come to the barbie, bring your bunker rats as well, just in case.
Excellent option. It sounds like a right good kneeser. Now,
that's the sort of chap I am. Insurance.
Yes. So last of all, bearing in mind we've got a few minutes left on the meeting.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to add for your public?
Well, you're probably wondering why I have this bonsai tree sitting here. I've been looking after this bonsai tree for a long time, okay? Since before I exited the bunker. And you can see it's small. And it's small because the bunker is a small environment. But in one of my missions, I bought from some tribals some seeds. I think that they're apricot seeds, but I'm no expert. Spoke to Fang about it, and what we'd like to do is like to plant trees. Now, I'm sure that those trees are going to grow to be a bit bigger than this thing in the outside world. And I would like to leave you with that metaphor for how us inhabitants of the bunker must behave on the surface. Be bigger, think bigger, and you are bigger.
Excellent. Well, thank you ever so much for your time today and for telling us and talking us through your manifesto. It's been incredibly interesting. And all I can say is good luck in the rest of your campaign.
Thank you very much. And if you need to talk to me again, or if there's going to be a debate between the candidates directly, I'm more than happy to participate.
Excellent. Well, I'll bear that in mind. Thank you very much.
Thank you.